Good morning, Northwoods Baptist Church. Just kidding. Good morning. We're excited about jumping into lesson number 8 here, and our biblical respond to authority. How do we respond to that wall that was placed, that wall of protection? You cannot escape authority ever. No matter where you run, no matter how you hide, no matter what you do, you are forever predestined to live under God's structure of authority in some form or fashion. You don't even get an escape whenever you die. It's just here. It's just here, which means you have two basic choices. You can either respond to authority correctly, to experience the protection and care that God intends to provide for you through your authority, or you can respond incorrectly and suffer a life that perhaps an eternity of destruction. First, let's look at what not to do. Number 1. The wrong response to godly authority, rebellion, if you will. Most people, most kids, and often parents resist this wonderful gift of authority. The Bible calls the resisting of authority rebellion. And God places no small consequences on this in His Word. Letter A, rebellion is one of the most dangerous positions in which we can be in. It can be dangerous, confusing, frustrating, and a vulnerable positions that you can be in life is in rebellion to our God-given authority. If you're in a position of rebellion against authority in your life right now, you are among some of the most miserable people walking around on the planet. There's no peace for you. There's no true happiness. You are confused, frustrated, angry, and probably depressed. You are convinced that it's everybody's fault but your own, and you're convinced that happiness will come as soon as you break free from the authority of your life. Your life is consumed with breaking free. And soon you will. Soon you will be more imprisoned than ever. In 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse number 22, 1 Samuel 15:22, it says, And Samuel said, Hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offering and sacrifice as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as the iniquity of idolatry. Wow. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath rejected thee he hath also rejected thee from being king. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Wow, that's really strong language. Do you think God really means that? Absolutely he does. In this story, Saul was disobeying God so that he could do something for God. Have you ever been in that position? Have you ever done something wrong so that you could do something good? Have you ever rationalized your rebellion as being acceptable because you don't have bad intentions? Your intentions are not the issue. Your actions are. God tells Saul obedience is top priority. Letter B. God desires obedience before worship. Obedience comes, first of all, over all spiritual exercises and good intentions. And God says, obedience is what I want more than any other thing that you could sacrifice for me or to me. Submit to my authority. Do what I say, and don't do it your own way. But Saul rebelled. Letter C. Rebellion leads to spiritual confusion and destruction. Saul was greatly rebuked for disobeying God to do something good. Saul's rebellion was listed in God's book on the same passage as idol worship and devil worship. Wow. Rebellion is like the very act of turning from God and worshiping Satan. Rebellion ranks right up there with curses, satanic rituals, and human sacrifice. In this case, you are the sacrifice and Satan is the idol that you're worshiping. In God's book, deliberately fighting against authorities that He has placed in your life is among the worst things that you can do. In the Old Testament, devil worship was quite often tied to drug abuse and to mind-altering substances. Satanic rituals, idolatry, and witchcraft employed the use of these substances to induce an altered state of consciousness and spiritual vulnerability. You might say that substances did, and they still do, open up the mind and soul to spiritual powers of evil. When God says rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, He's including these practices in what He's saying is the sin of witchcraft. He is saying that rebellion has the same effect on the heart that the use of these conscious altering substances have. In the same way that drugs and alcohol take away the conscious ability to discern reality, so rebellion distorts and destroys the spiritual reality. In the same way that a substance abuse makes you physically crazy, so rebellion makes you spiritually crazy and self-destructive. I once read about a man who was on drugs who climbed a telephone pole and he tried to fly. Another man who drove his car down the road and straight over a cliff. Another man who killed his family because he thought the family was trying to kill him. People who are on drugs and alcohol, they can't see clearly. The reality is distorted. This makes them see things that aren't so, as they aren't so. It makes them make choices that aren't really healthy. Substance abuse puts a person in a very real path of self-destruction. It places a person in an artificial reality, the world of distortion, where destruction and decisions are made. Where destructive decisions are made. Let me put it this way. If you're rebelling against godly authority in your life, there you are in a distorted world of drunkenness. It's going to cause you to hurt yourself and others. You're on spiritual drugs. Your spiritual reality is messed up. Your senses are dulled, and you will destroy yourself. It's a law of God's spiritual universe. You cannot resist and defy spiritual authority in your life and win. It's not going to happen. No one ever has, no one ever will, because it can't be done. Rebellion makes you high on self and drunk on stupidity. Rebellion makes you say and do things that anyone in their right mind would never do. Rebellion confuses, distorts, and frustrates your spiritual life in ways that you cannot comprehend. If you're rebelling, you know what I'm saying is true. And you're even thinking that you can rebel against my words. You see the lie? Wake up. Don't continue down the path to your own demise. Sober up. Get out from under the effects of this dangerous spiritual substance abuse. This leads us to number 2. The right response to godly authority. So if the hook of rebellion, the lie of resistance, is the second most dangerous way that teens are destroying their lives, what's our response? What's the right response? In light of the truth of godly authority, how should we respond to this gift from God? Well, first, the right response. The right response begins with honor. The right response goes back to honor. In Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, Exodus 20:12. Exodus 20, verse 12, it says, "Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee." You can obey without honoring, but you cannot honor without obeying. Surface obedience, conformity, even if it's just for a time, it's not the answer. You can rebel in the heart while externally doing what you're told to do. I remember the story of a little boy in Sunday school who was told to sit down, and he sat down for a time and stood back up, and then the teacher told him to sit down, and he looked up and he says, "No, I don't want to sit down." And she said again, "Sit down." And he said, "No, I don't want to sit down." And the teacher said, "Okay, we're going to go get your dad." And the little boy immediately sat right down, folded his arms and stared at him. Teacher looked at him and said, "Are you going to be all right?" He says, "I'm standing up on the inside." The whole idea, you can't do that. You can't obey outwardly, but still rebel inwardly. This is why honor has to come first. If you truly honor your authority, respect them, highly value them, value what they say, you will obey them from the heart with a right spirit. Honor will create within you a right spirit that will generate real obedience. The second thing, B, a right response involves surrender and submission to God first and human authority second. That's B. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21, it says it this way, "Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God." To submit literally means to lay down your arms and stop fighting. Are you tired of the fighting? You tired of fighting the authority? Because you know how miserable that is, how depleting, how spiritually exhausting that it is. It's an exhausting way to live. There's nothing more empty and frustrating. One of the hardest things that you will ever do is submit, to stop fighting your parents. It's a matter of pride, not wanting to give in to them and not letting them win. It's a struggle from within, seemingly losing something you desire so strongly. Yet it's really just a trap. It's a hook. The sooner you learn to give your will over to God and to your parents, the sooner God will begin to bring your life back into clear focus. I can't entirely explain it. It's just a law of God, and it works. Third, this is C. A right response is obedience. Ultimately, it boils down to obedience. There's a scripture song we sing in church, and it's Ephesians 6:1. And the song is saying, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. For this is right. For this is right. Children, obey your parents in the Lord." Now, this is a very familiar song. No doubt any Christian home has taught this song to their children to sing over and over and over and over. Maybe not the song, but they taught the verse over and over. It's one of the first ones I had the opportunity of learning as a child. One of the hardest ones to obey. We can quote it frontwards, backwards. We've memorized it in every Sunday school class you've ever attended. So by now, whenever you need it the most, we're completely desensitized to it. We need to choose obedience. In the next lesson, we're going to cover that God places a high priority or a premium on obedience to his commands. The obedient people are the blessed people. We're going to look at that next lesson. I hope you all enjoy your day. It's a beautiful sunny day outside. Grab some sunny glasses and go take a walk. Have a great day.